try.
I've lived in the rugby world. I've done it. I've enjoyed it. I've had my ups and downs. I've had the goods and the bads. I've had my regrets. I've had so many memories, but that is, in the past now. But it doesn't change me. It's made me the person I am today, but it doesn't change what the future holds for me.
So you've been here since, I'm not going to say how old you are.
Yeah, it was Doncaster, 2006. Yeah, 2006.
Yeah.
22, 23, I think. Yeah, 23.
Okay, 23.
Yeah.
You've basically lived here pretty much almost half your life.
Yeah.
What has the experience been like for you?
For some reason, I've kept my rugby career within the UK. There have been some lucrative offers abroad, but somehow something was just holding me back in the UK, which I'm really grateful for now because, I'm able to qualify as a British citizen now. I've got a British citizenship now, and it's, something that I've always wanted ever since moving to the UK, because it's kind of like easier to travel with rather than a Fijian passport. So yeah, that's basically simple, straightforward, I guess.
Okay, so just talk about some of your clubs you went to. Which of those clubs did you kind of stand out for you as almost like family almost?
I think I was more welcomed in Scotland and Wales. Not that I had any issue with English rugby, just Scotland, Edinburgh. I just from the get going, I just was accepted, and the boys would invite me to their houses and bring meals for me because they knew I was alone. Some of them their wives and moms would cook food and leftovers, or here, take this to Netani, and I just kind of felt like it reminds me of home, back in Fiji. And it just made me enjoy rugby more, just because there was less stress, because I knew, everyone was like family, was always looking after each other. And then similar to Wales as well. Ever since I left Edinburgh, I used to go back probably 3-4 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So around August for the August Fest, the Fringe, and then probably either around New Year's, like the Hog Money and those things. And if any other occasion pops up, one of the boys are having a birthday or something, or just the boys get together, I'd make time and go and see them and have a bit of a banter with the boys and catch up. But in the last 4 years in England, I've made a fair share of traveling back to Edinburgh and Cardiff.
I was going to say, do you miss it? So by the sounds of it, you do kind of miss it, kind of a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's just it's just the catching up, to be honest. Like when I've retired from rugby, I don't, most of the boys would be playing rugby, and I would talk about the season, but more into like just how their family are, the kids, their wives and stuff like that, their mum and dads, because I kind of like got to meet everyone. And then it's kind of like, rugby is a big part, but the social side of it is even a bigger part for me, because, boys are having their second child and third one, and just some boys are getting married and moving into a new house, just bought a house and moving into a house with their wives and girlfriends. So I'm more intrigued in that than, we played this team this week and last week. And so, so it's just, basically touching up with their social life outside of rugby rather than rugby.
What was one of your highlights of a club game?
Weirdly, I there's a few highlights, even in Worcester, Edinburgh, Newport. I was unfortunate to, show Queens what I was made of when I got injured. So, that was, because I felt like I was just on another level of you know, towards the end of my career, I felt like I was getting more wiser, more, you know, more fitter, more intelligent, and, you know, kind of like more street smart. You know, I knew what to do, where to do, how, you know, and all these things. So, but, you know, my injuries kind of like stopped me from doing that. But you know what? You know, it's God has purpose for everyone, and it wasn't the direction for me. But I was, you know, I was grateful for every single day. But you know, in Edinburgh, we went up to the semi-finals of the Heineken Cup, and you know, it's in the history books, which is good. You know, and it was kind of like I say, it was a turning point of my career, because I felt comfortable in a city and in a team where the boys kind of like, you know, they knew what you were capable of, so they don't have to stress you out. You know, all they have to do is, you know, just play the game rather than always expecting you to do something. Whereas you played as a team of 15 rather than overloading yourself and doing all the work and stuff like that. Whereas all the boys just loved to play, and it was good to play in that atmosphere, because, you know, you didn't have to worry about, you know, missing a rock because then there's someone there, or, you know, missing a tackle, there's someone covering for you, because everyone was just doing their jobs. And, you know, and that's what the Heineken Cup semi-finals brought out of the boys. Like, it was, you know, it was a shame, because I think we were second bottom to Ironi in the, was it Magnus League then?
Yeah, I think it's Magnus. Yeah, they've been around then.
Like we were second bottom, I think, you know, and then it was Ironi at the bottom. And for us to qualify, beat for us to beat Racing Metro and Toulouse, who was, you know, probably rated to actually get in the semi-finals, in the finals with Leinster, and probably beat Leinster, but, you know, and we toppled them, and it was a shock, and everyone was like, whoa, what the hell is happening here? Then we went on to the semi-finals and played Ulster at the Aviva Stadium. You know, it was, you know, I just said, you know, we've made the semi-finals, we just have to play hard. If we win, we win. We lose, we lose. But looking back, we could have won that game as well, you know, but we kind of like put the pressure on ourselves too much, because we just thought like we've come underdogs, and, you know, we're happy to finish semi-finals rather than the finals. But, you know, the boys I was more upset losing in the semi-finals, because I knew we had more to give, but we were just happy to settle for either one. So yeah, I think that was the highlight of my career.
So let's go to some more highlights here. Your international career, 2006. You made your debut for Fiji against Tonga.
Yeah.
Tonga.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience.
That was a strange one, because I wasn't meant to play, but I think someone pulled out with a hamstring issue or something. So then I think I went into the bench, didn't I? I came off the bench. It was okay, because it was very wet and cold, and you know, the balls were very slippery. But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the best game, but it was just good to be out there representing your country, playing against Tonga in a different environment, rather than, you know, Churchill Park or National Stadium. Yeah, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the way I wanted to start my debut, but you know, you have to be grateful for every opportunity you get.
And you say making the most out of it, because you went on from there. The following year, you went into the 2007 World Cup.
Yeah.
Your first of the 3 World Cups you went to.
Yeah. 2007
World Cup. From 2007, and there was 2000. We won't talk about 2011, but 2015.
yeah. We'll skip that one. Yeah. But I think it's good to, you know, put things into perspective, because you can't just brush out 2011. It's, you know, I still represented my country. It was the most awkward season, because there's so many things happening in there. But we have to, like, we cannot just brush it under the carpet. It has to be, everyone has to understand that, yes, 2011 was a very low year, but the boys performed and they gave their heart out just like any other team. Like, you can't just say, oh, who performed in 2011? Just scrub their names off the list. No, you can't do that, because, I was proud and happy to play in 2011 with the boys, because we were representing our country in a bigger stage, and you can't just like shove that along. But because whenever I wear that white jersey, no matter what team I play, if it's a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, I'm proud of it. It's the passion that runs through my blood is just insane.
What do you think went wrong in 2011?
I think the logistics of it from the beginning was just a nightmare. There's a lot of things that the boys weren't happy with and all these things, and it just kind of like accumulated, and instead of being addressed, everyone just kind of like trying to brush it off as per normal, brush it under the carpet and let's move on, because you can't do, the boys just want to play. Like, everyone, end of the day, if the boys don't get paid, we will still play, because most of us are contracted overseas, and but the boys who are local were the ones who were kind of like worried about, because this is their dream, this is their life. But there's a lot of things that were happening behind the scenes that most boys weren't happy with. But it's just, how do you address this? You don't know, because we don't want to say anything in case you get dropped from the squad, and so you just have to, like, keep your chin up and just go forward and represent your country, and let whoever needs to take care of that. In camp, the boys were, we trained hard. We enjoyed ourselves. We did we did everything right. I think it was just not our season. But instead of addressing things, we just kind of like brush it under the table and just under the carpet and just move on, which I think we need to address things in order for us to like start competing with the bigger nations. We have to like pinpoint things and make people accountable, and address the issue, and and all these small things actually adds up.
So yeah, okay. So I get that. It's a holistic kind of way of looking at things. It's kind of it's not just what you guys were putting out on the field. It's a background as well, because you've got that negativity.
Yeah.
I always say negativity breeds negativity, and it's kind of and to go from the highs of 2007, where I mean, most of that team were in 2007, 2011, 2017. But to go from the highs of that, were you expecting more, if that makes sense?
I personally think the reason we excelled in 2007 is of what the IRB management did, the World Rugby guys, Peter Murphy, Wayne Pivac, Vince Kelly, and all these guys coming in, David Dwyer, Greg Mum, and Fraser. So they actually set the foundation in, like, I think 2000 end of 2005-06, where I've never seen the boys train so hard. I've never seen boys being fit, strong, functional, being able to like play 80 minutes without being tired, and without an inconsistency, because some people say, by 60 minutes we start to like plummet down. But and the boys were accountable. We were accountable of each other. The boys who'd go home on we'll go home on a, say, Friday evening, come back on a Sunday, you stand on the scales and you're a bit overweight. I'm accountable. Okay, I'm joining the Fat Club in the morning. I'm running at 6 a.m. in the morning, and this is what the boys were doing. And you don't have to do it every day. It's Monday, Tuesday, and it's good to see that, because you don't have to drag people out of bed. They are accountable for themselves. They're up in the morning, and when it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they are actually controlling themselves when they're eating it. They know what to eat, and it's just the smallest things that made it made a massive difference. But you take that back to like 2004, you're just like, why are these, they're just big lumps and not moving. But as soon as, everyone put something in place and, this is what we need to achieve. And plus, those coaches that came in, they took no bullshit. Like if you don't pass your fitness test, you're on the bench or you're not in the game. And that's how it was happening. And the boys thought it was a joke, and they started realizing that they weren't getting picked, towards the end of 2006 and early 2007. And, and we had a lot of training camps in 2006 and 2007. I think it was every Monday there was a meeting up at Longer Park, where we had fitness sessions. And, and if you're losing out on your fitness sessions, you're kind of like being left out of the squad, and, you have to try to find your way back in. And that's basically it. That's my opinion. That's why, we made it that far, because everyone bought into the system.
So we fast forward to 2015. In the UK, very tough group. England, Australia, Wales, Uruguay, and of course Fiji.
Yeah.
That's a tough group. I remember watching the opening game, Fiji versus England, and standing around a lot of English supporters. By the end of the game, they were supporting Fiji. Did you feel that was a good platform moving forward?
I think we were kind of like breeding a good squad that could potentially 2019. We had props that could run like backs. We had locks that could play like flankers. Flankers that could play like backliners. And you have all the backline who could run like wingers, and it's just like I think we had trained hard and well, and and because a lot of consistency towards individual extra work, where you see boys doing extras, which is so good to see. You hardly see that, but you see boys who are quite weak at tackling. They're putting more effort in tackling and technique, and the boys are doing the kicking, some speed work, some line out work. And back in the days, boys used to warm up playing touch rugby. Now the boys are warming up doing their extra individual work, which is good to see, because you can play touch rugby whenever you want, but it's it's a professional game now, and you can't afford to make too many mistakes because the world's watching. You know what I'm saying? So I think 2015 was a good platform going into 2019, really. But there's a 4-year gap. You don't know, how the periodization of those 4 years were being dealt with. So, I think it's, you have players coming in, and then in 2 years' time they disappear. So you need to be able to keep the core, most of the boys back in the team to develop, and that's what the tier ones do. They have a core squad that they, if they're resting, but they're still in the squad, and they're doing their training behind doors and stuff like that, getting their rehab and getting that, their body's rested and recovered and all these things. Whereas Fiji, once you're out of the squad, it's kind of like, yep, you do whatever you do to survive, and we'll probably see you, in the next Colonial Cup or the Skipper Cup, and if you perform well, we'll bring you back in. If not, there's always there's always an abundance of talent coming through Fiji, which is kind of like brought in and sent out, whereas rather than brought in, develop, bring the best out of them, and then we'll keep pushing you forward and get the best out of you, rather than there's another young kid that will step you back, bring the kid in, and then you just kind of like wither away, really.
Is that because of the structure within Fiji in terms of Fiji Rugby Union, then because there's so many? It's interesting because Dan Leo's documentary Oceans Apart, which you were in for a bit, and you've did an interview with him, but he mentioned in there that, or whoever, I can't remember who it was, had mentioned about if they can pick anyone they want, and just if you don't follow the rules, you're out, basically. Do you think that's an issue, or do you think it's a way the whole of the system set up?
To be honest, hopefully, Simon's a really smart guy, and he's got all the wealth and experience, and I'm sure he doesn't take bullshit. And he's represented our country. He has a big respect following behind him. I just hope people back him up with his decisions, rather than people are coming from a different direction. Whereas you have world-class coaches now. Let the coaches do the work. We have so much talent in the country, but sometimes they have to try and overlook talent and see kids that are capable of working consistently throughout the year, every year, non-stop, rather than boys who would just come and play one game and stand out, and then the next game just don't do anything, and then the next game stand out. But we need consistency. We need people that are consistent, and I'm sure that's what the coaches would be finding and looking into, and putting all the players into basically make them work for their position rather than just giving them an easy in.
But do you think it's helped that having people like Vern Cotter or Ben Ryan or non-Fijians in there? Do you think that's helped with the actual picking of the team, or do you think it's just kind of same old?
I personally think it's always good to have an expat head coach where he dictates everything, because there needs to be a bit of fear in the squad of knowing that you could actually lose your place like that. No matter how good you are, if you don't perform, you don't do the right things, you don't train well, you don't pass your fitness test, and you don't perform for 8 minutes, or you miss your tackles, and you all these things, and there's always someone who can play better than you. People do make mistakes, but consistently, you need consistency through every game. And I hope that is the reason, that just we have the capacity and the capability to play and outperform every team on the planet. You have Simon Rowley in there, Van Cotter, and some really good names, assistant coaches and stuff like that. So hopefully this setup takes a turn as to what Wayne Pivac did in 2006.
Let's just go away from rugby for the moment. You mentioned there you've taken a different direction. So you have taken a direction which is interesting. I've seen weightlifting. I've seen strength and conditioning coach.
Yep.
I've seen, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've seen that on there as well.
I trained some of the athletes, but
why did you take that direction?
To be honest, I've grown up in Fiji. There was not a lot of you didn't have the privilege of playing so many sports. So it's either rugby, volleyball, or athletics. And going to like Marist and athletics was the main thing. So running was the sport. Rugby wasn't, unless you went to like RKS, KVS, or Lelin and all those places back then. But I used to watch a lot of sports on TV, and I was like very intrigued in like so many different types of sports. And once I got into rugby, I enjoyed it, fell in love with it from the first go. And I wasn't hoping to become a national player. I wasn't hoping to have a contract overseas, because there's a lot of boys who I played with personally I thought was going to go further than me and be there way in front of me. But I think that I had a different drive. There was more drive in me because I enjoyed it with passion, and I did it for the love of it rather than the money side of it. Like I said, I could have taken a few other lucrative offers, but I chose where I felt comfortable playing and where I enjoyed it. But yeah, I did rugby for half of my life, and coming out of rugby, I've met a lot of people, met other professions, and the boxers and judo and powerlifters and all these types of fitness and lifestyle, and it just made me realize there's more to rugby after rugby. I don't know if it's my calling, it's my purpose, but like I said, it was like rugby, but rugby came to an end. This, I don't know. My life, to be honest, I leave it in God's hands. Whatever direction, I don't know. Maybe I'll travel the world. I'll become I don't know, something else. I'm saying a fisherman or something. I don't know. It's different because you inspire people and you get inspiration from other people, and you motivate people and other people motivate you, and you're just a normal person living a normal life, basically.
Would you consider yourself a personal trainer?
I'd say a fitness coach, because it's so diverse. Like, you just have to, you have strength and conditioning coaches who are PTs, and PTs who are strength and conditioning coaches. So, and you have nutritionists who are PTs and strength and conditioning coaches, and so I think it's just coach, a fitness coach.
One of the things I'll ask you first, Dan Leo's Oceans Apart.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to watch it yet?
No, I've just had a few people commenting about it. So,
do you find that what Dan's doing will open up the world's eyes, world rugby's eyes, to what's happening to Pacific Islanders, and in this case, obviously, Fijians?
Dan's doing a really good thing, and respect his work. But there's always there's always people that want to bring him down. There's always, other bigger fish that wants to see this fail. But it's an ongoing fight, and all the Islanders are putting their heads together, and it's just a matter of time. I think now the Oceans Apart, hopefully it's reached out to a lot of people. Hopefully we use that as a driving force and get people to understand and realize that this is not a joke, it's not a game, it's happening, it's happened, and it's still happening.
Going back to rugby a little bit more, because we've been talking about it. Autumn Nations Cup. Fiji was supposed to be playing Tier 1 nations, or as Nicky Little said, the richer nations.
Yeah.
But that hasn't kind of happened. Who do you think? What do you think went wrong? Has gone wrong with this COVID situation in camp?
Hopefully none of the boys have been selfish, and hopefully they're, been respectful of the decisions and the environment we live in, and none has broken the rule and just gone and caught something. And but saying that, I'm sure they're in a hotel with other people and workers who are coming in and out. So I've to be honest, it's hard to actually trying to think how the boys have contracted this, but it's out of my hands, to be honest. I just want to see the boys play. Most of them have come all this way not to be stuck in a hotel for like 4 weeks. So I hope, fingers crossed, they get to play at least 1 or 2 games. But it's a shame that with the squad we have now, that they could do damage. But that's just about getting them back on the field ASAP. So
we've had a year where we can pretty much write off because it's been COVIDed out. You're back to the drawing board. You can start the whole process all over again. How would you ensure that teams like Fiji, like Samoa, like Tonga, Georgia, and they have an equal piece of the pie to make sure, almost just to play more tier 1 nations or richer nations?
It goes back to how the union kind of like manages the finances coming from, you know, World Rugby and IRB or wherever it comes from. You know, I think having more games, first of all, locally, you know, like the Pacific nations, 2 games each. So that's like 4 or 5 games. It's not enough. It's, you know, and with saying that, like 4 or 5 games, we are still able to put a good show against the tier 1 nations. So imagine having more games where you can develop more rugby players, develop more talent, and get the boys to be playing, you know, the system that we want to play.
I was going to say, do you feel there's appetite in World Rugby to see a country like Fiji to be in the top echelons of World Rugby?
The tier 1 nations are scared of Fiji, 100%, you know, because we can make or break in the first 10, 15 minutes. Like, we unleash fire playing like open rugby, you know, and imagine if we had that same energy and same style of rugby for 80 minutes. Jesus, like, it's going to be impossible. You know, it's like playing a sevens game.
Mm.
You know, props are running like wingers, and, you know, wingers are tackling like flankers, and, you know, all the players are holding the ball one hand and offloading left, right, and center, you know, and playing consistently for 80 minutes. Like, of course we're capable of that, but like I said, it's down to how we, you know, that's what we did in 2007 because of the structure that we developed. And everyone bought into the structure and bought into the game plan and bought into how we want to play. And, you know, it's there, but how do we implement that, you know? And I'm sure the World Rugby don't want to see that, because a small nation, you know, taking over and, you know, beating the tier 1 nations, it's, you know, it's kind of like it's laughing back at their own faces, I guess.
What's your take on Fiji's 8th man?
No, it's good. It's good to see the, you know, you guys organizing, you know, Fijians to get together, which is amazing, because you don't just see Fijians getting together. There's a lot more people who's traveled to Fiji and heard about Fiji and are so intrigued. You know, they come together, and, you know, it's just nice to see that other people are so intrigued into our lifestyle, our culture, and what we do, you know, and getting misdirected till 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, you don't see the locals, the Fijians on the floor, but the, you know, the outsiders who are thinking they can keep up with the Fijians drinking. So, no, it's good. They, you know, they do good work, and, you know, it's good for them to organize and try to, you know, get people together far and wide to come and watch games, and, you know, and all these things. And, you know, I was actually looking forward, because I've never traveled the 7th Circuit, because I held a Fiji passport. Mm-hmm. So now, as a British citizen, mate, I think you could see me on every 7th Circuit soon. So, yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I think what they're doing is really good. You know, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be even trying to watch a sevens game, you know. But with Lorraine, she's always like on your back, slapping your head. Come and watch a game. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll come and watch a game. That's good. I think it's a different approach, which is good.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I think I'll still be around somewhere this side of the world. You know, I think it's, you know, this is my life now. Most of my boys would say, would you retire back home? I don't think I would ever retire back home. You know, I wouldn't mind, you know, probably going home for a holiday. But I think, you know, this is my life now. You know, I want my kids to come and experience the world as well. My parents, I want to travel the world. I've lived in Fiji for 18 years. You know, I go back home now and then. You know, I love everything about Fiji, but it's just going back home is just too small for me. You know, by the time I run from one end to the other, it's done. I look for places to go and run. No, plus, you know, I just love the four seasons. I love, you know, everything about the cold and the heat and the autumn and the, you know, spring. And there's a variety of culture and food. You know, it's just different. You know, it's just different. And as much as I miss home and I miss the food and I miss the sun, I can just go across somewhere close for 2 hours and enjoy the sun and, you know, good food and other things in life, really.
If there was something you could change, what would it be?
I don't know. It's probably nothing I would change. This is hard because I don't think I could ever. I've had regrets. Everything I've done that's taught me a lesson has changed the perspective and direction I have in life, and just being grateful every time something wrong goes or something good happens. You know, yes, sometimes something happens and you go, I want to change. I could change that, doing that, but that wouldn't have brought me here, and that would have made me the person I am today. You know, because the universe works in so many different ways, and like I said, you know, God is, you know, his purpose in life is different for everyone. So, you know, I could have been in the British Army in 2000, but my dad ripped up my application form. You know, that could have been a different direction, and you know, we wouldn't be speaking here. But everything's led to a different thing and something else. So it's a hard one because like I don't think I would ever change anything. I would never. I have no regrets because life is a lesson, and it's how you respond to that, and you know, and live it really.
Space and time, and the try.